What is going on, homies and homettes? I got something cool for you. We have a swim bait test for today. This is the new cast Prodigy. So, full disclosure, I love throwing a Keitech. You guys have seen it in a bunch of videos. It's an absolutely killer winter presentation, but at the same time, you always have to be kind of thinking about new things, trying new things, but you don't have to change the world. You can try kind of subtle differences, slight differences, and get the same presentation, but maybe it has a little different waddle to it. Maybe it has a rattle, which we're going to talk about. So what we're going to do today is we're actually going to test this thing. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it first. It is a cast Prodigy. This is the 3-inch. I think it comes in a 4-inch as well. What's different about this? So one, they make it in awesome pink, which everybody loves pink. It's just like a Keitech. However, the plastic is a little bit more durable, but it's not like it's hard, you know, like some of those junky plastics that you buy like at Walmart or something like that. What's also kind of cool is in comparison to the Keitech, it has a thinner body, so it gets down a little quicker on the same weight. It also has a different tail. It has that sort of, I guess, triangular or rounded triangular tail, just a little different waddle, still super duper thin, so it really does not take much pressure or much reeling to actually activate it. One of the coolest things about this, though, and this is something that I struggle with, you guys have seen videos in the past where I'm dyeing tails, you know, trying to make that Keitech appear more when the water gets kind of stained and dirty. So there's actually a slot right here, and I'm going to actually pop it out. Do you see that thing coming out right there? That is a rattle, boys. Let me slide it back in. You can see it goes right in there. It's just a little cavity, and it pops right in. And you can barely hear it. It's super subtle, but I actually like that. But it's just enough to give it some extra vibration and to set it apart from, like I said, your Keitechs and that. But those are kind of the specs that are a little bit different. Sneaky little note, too. I have been told by people in the know that you can actually slide a Nico weight in there. And you can maybe not wacky rig this thing, but you Nico rig it with a little bit of a circle hook, and you slide that tungsten weight in there, and you can fish it vertically for like spotted bass, for largemouth that are suspended. Super sneaky. I got to send a shout out to my buddy Andrew, though, from Serious Angler Podcast. He's the one who told me about these, and he's like, bro, you have to get some. So let's go try this thing out. See what this one does on the new swim bait, Bob. Don't be a strut. That's a good spot. It's a solid spot. It's weird he ate it out of the bottom of his mouth. Sometimes that's an indicator that they're more towards the bottom like that. Dude, that's a fat little 2-pounder. I like this swim bait. That's a good one. Oh, and there's 4 more with them, dude. I like these swim baits. I think, wow, that's a giant, dude. Hello. He chowed that thing. Let's get him another cast. That's another big one. Uh-huh. That's another one. Look at that bug. How about it, boys? How about it? I'd say it works, right? So I literally have not changed the swim bait. The eye's starting to rip out, but it's still integral to swim, so the thing holds up like 100 times better than a Keitech. Oh, we found him, boys. That's a big one, dude. Bro. And he got it. Look at that spot. Look how far he freaking annihilated it. Look at. Bro. How about that? That's a 3.5-pound spot. Dude, look at that thing. I like this thing. I'm sorry I dropped it in the water because I'm an idiot. But I really like this thing. I'm a hard to please person. I've tried a lot of different kinds of Keitechs, like, you know, like the Strike King knockoff and that. I absolutely hate those except for A-rigs. But for single kind of like weight swim baiting, kind of like what we're doing today, you know, with that ball head, something that you see a lot on my channel because I absolutely love it. It catches largemouth, it catches smallmouth, it catches spots. For that, it's absolutely awesome. And I think there's two things that really set it apart. One, obviously the rattle. The rattle is a game changer. It's super subtle, so I don't feel like it's like overpowering, but it's something totally different that you don't, like, it'd be hard to put a rattle into a Keitech or something along those lines. The other thing too is the durability, dude. If you guys have fished Keitechs, you know how quickly they tear up, and that's part of their appeal, you know? They're extra soft. It doesn't take like nearly anything to make that tail kind of waggle, especially during the winter when you have that cold water and that plastic gets kind of brittle. I like this thing, dude, and it comes in the right colors too. That's always a struggle. This is actually what we fished today. This is that blue pearl, which, dude, I don't care if you have clear water or if you have a slight stain in the water, it's absolutely killer. And that blue, it's almost like magic crawl, that iridescent sort of silhouette kind of deal. It's killer, dude. You know, the tail, I think that's also a player, not nearly as integral or as important as say the rattle and the durability, but just having a different tail. We talk a lot about water displacement when we're talking about crankbaits, flat-sided crankbaits with different kinds of like rattles in them, crankbaits with different body shapes so they displace water differently. And I think that applies to swim baits as well. This guy has that triangular tail, so it's going to move water slightly different. And then also what we did a lot today is that penduluming, you know, I think it's called tight lining. I call it penduluming. So basically you stop your reeling on a taut line or a semi-taut line. You let that bait sort of just pendulum down to the bottom. And I think this tail probably does that differently, whereas the Keitech is circular. This guy has that triangular shape to it, and it catches water better and makes it glide ever so slow down to the bottom. Another thing too, and this is a small deal, but to me it's a big deal, is the width. One thing that I like but don't like about Keitechs is actually the girth on them. I do wish they were a little bit smaller. However, there's a fine line when you get too thin for that to sit on a jig correctly, or I'm using a screw lock right here where it won't go onto your screw lock. However, with this guy, the plastic is a little bit more durable, and I had no problem. It's just thin enough where it's thinner than a Keitech, but it's not thin like paper thin where you go and put it on that screw lock and it's totally screwed up. Last thing that's really cool that I didn't notice right away, and it's going to be very hard to show on camera. So this body actually comes down to a very thin, almost like fin on the belly. So this thing has sort of like a rudder, if you will, like a guide on it that'll straighten the bait, and it'll kind of, I guess, vibrate and create extra kind of back and forth action with the swim bait when you're actually reeling it, and that's kind of cool. There's a lot of like interesting like design aspects that went into this, and it shows when you fish it, man. Final verdict: I'm gonna buy more. I'm a sucker for like a good swim bait, right? So I'm gonna grab some more of these. Once again, they are the Cast Prodigy Swimbait. I know they've been doing a bunch of damage on Lanier and spotted bass lakes where a downsized swimbait like this is absolutely killer. So it's definitely something to check out. Let me know your feelings on it, dude. I don't think it's gonna replace a Keitech, but it's definitely 100% like backup to a Keitech. And what's kind of cool about this is I can put it on a rig and it's not tearing off all the time. We literally used one bait today, and I think we caught 13 fish total. You didn't see them all in the video, but we caught a couple big ones, and we never put on a new bait. I still have it on, actually. It's not the prettiest. It's not like in the best of shape, but you can see she is chewed up, dude. And she's about to come off that screw lock, but she's just hanging in there, dude. I like it. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'm gonna give Dog a pat for you. We'll see you back out on the water or talking fishing from the garage.